Yeah, I think first, I guess who inspired me was my mum, because she played football when she was young before she had kids, and she was the one that got me playing. I don't ever remember having a choice. I think I played. And then as I grew up and I think realized that I perhaps was actually good at football, that was when I started watching football, and especially in Canberra when Canberra United was such a visible product for us as kids. Then I had an idol of Sally Shippard, who was, an incredible Matilda and midfielder. And then my obsession grew abroad as well. So a lot of my friends followed the EPL. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see women footballers overseas on streams, but players that stood out for me were players like Eden Hazard. I loved Neymar after the World Cup. And so I guess, it started off with family, and then my obsession grew watching world-class players and dreaming of being like them. Yeah, I think every time, you decide to move, it's a huge change, and there's so many considerations part just the team. I'd been living, with my family in Canberra, and I was ready to move out, and I guess it was an obvious choice for me to come to Western off their success of last year, and coming in a defensive role, I guess, is helping me expand my repertoire as a player, and I was open to that. I really loved the transparency the club showed, and obviously linking up with some former teammates. So yeah, it felt like a big decision, and then when I actually had to move down, it felt like my whole life was changing. But now that I'm settled in, it feels really nice, and I feel like I'm here for football, focused and ready. Yeah, I think I just remember that first season when Ash Sykes and I think Michelle and Ellie, and they were all off the pitch, and the captain's armband got handed to me, and I think that was Ray Dow's decision for the future. And then, that was very special, and Canberra's holds such a dear place in my heart. I've spent so many years there in the community as well, working with the next generation. And once they, the seasons under Vicky Linton, and we had Michelle and Kendall Fletcher were there. And so I was still learning off them, but asked to step up, I guess, in that leadership role. And the club means so much to me at Canberra. And that's for anyone who's got a home club that you watched and grew up as a fan. And I wish them the best and left on great terms with everyone. So it was super hard, definitely, but I think that's where you're starting to see now the game lifting in the professional standards, that players are making moves to put themselves in the best position as a footballer, and not just staying nearby because that's the club you grew up around. When you're a 15-year-old coming into a professional women's environment, and I think it's one of the few workplaces in any industry where you have kids and adolescents that are expected to behave the same and have the same rules and roles and responsibilities as adults. So I think that first was just growing up pretty quick, and that was awesome. Like, I was able to do that, but you do miss a lot and sacrifice a lot as a teenager. And I didn't go to my graduations, not because I didn't have the time, but because I didn't feel connected. I was away so much. So, that was really hard. And then going into young Matildas, and you get that taste of that top level, the highest you can play at that age was incredible. But I do look back on it being very naive in the confidence within myself as a teenager. I definitely had body image issues. Going through puberty, I was a late developer, so my body was changing. And I didn't know I had to change the way I played. I did change as a player, and I think I was in denial for a lot of years that this is the player I am now. And I kept remembering that I would reminisce on, I used to play like this, and that was really difficult. And I think it threw me off for a good 2 years. I didn't really feel like myself. So I think it's such a fragile age between 15 and 20, where you're going through the normals of exploring life and where you sit in the world, plus in football and what the norm is, and these professional athletes, and what do you eat, what are you meant to look like, all those stigmas, which, yeah, are a lot on any day, let alone when you're a teenager. So, you know, that was really hard, and that's something that I aim to help others with long past my playing career as well. And that's a really unique bracket of players that I do think need extra support. So that was really what I had was the downsides, I guess, to football, playing professionally so young. And now as I'm coming into, you know, my mid-20s, which is crazy to say, I've really started to feel the financial pressure, I think. I'm very lucky my family, you know, have been so supportive and have allowed me to live at home far past they would probably imagine. And I think the financial pressure also, as a female footballer, puts a strain on your relationships. You know, I'm now living away from my partner, and this is like that the adult struggles as well that you face in football when you can't support your family to live with you. So yeah, it's tricky and you're navigating it. But if I didn't love the sport, maybe I wouldn't play, but it's got me wrapped around their finger. So I'm here and I'm choosing to have those sacrifices. Yeah, I think mental health is, you know, it in its own right is such a tricky thing, and the severity of it, and, you know, what the severity is for you. You know, I've never been someone who really can't function when I'm in depressive states, but I do think that mental health, I try to talk about it as common, like it's, you know, getting a cold. And I think that normalization is really improved in at least women's football. I can't speak to other sports or genders, but I think it's just something that if you start young and you get into almost a routine of being on top of your mental health, that's really important. And I think it's really important when you're in football environments to acknowledge and talk to your support staff saying, I'll be okay, but I'm not in a great spot at the moment, and it's okay. And I think acknowledging that you're okay will help it not affect your football. It's possible to still play. Maybe you're not going to be in the best form of your life, you know, but I think, managing it and not letting yourself shut down completely is just super important for mental health, especially with being an elite sports person. I've always had the aspiration to be Matilda. I think any player that's eligible in this league would be kidding themselves if they haven't. And while the times have changed in which you were a Matilda and then you play your club football, it's a bit now a share with playing club football. You can make a living off that without the Matildas. So I really want to represent my country, and that's a goal. And I think focusing on where I'm playing now and every day is what's going to get me there. So I try to keep my head down and just, go about my business, but I definitely am open to saying that's a big goal of mine. And then the other one is, I always say, not necessarily overseas, but I want to be playing year-round football or contracted year-round and have that confidence to be, I've got a 3-year contract, or, you know, having that professionalism and actually owning that professional footballer. And I think it's only a few years away here, which is really exciting. But unfortunately, you know, why we see so many players overseas is because that's what they're after too. So it's a goal of mine. But again, those opportunities will come if I keep my head down and work hard here.